Are you ready to jumpstart your year? You don't have to wait until January 1st or some other magical date on the calendar to make a fresh start. My new workbook comes with 12 questions for personal reflection to assess where you are and where you want to be at this time next year. Get your free Jumpstart Your Year workbook at kickingitwithdaree.com/resources. I am Daree Allen Nieves, and you are Kicking It With Me. Welcome to the Kicking It With Daree show. I am Daree Allen Nieves, and I want to wish you a wonderful and happy new year. I pray that your year of 2019, or whenever you're listening to this, is a healthy one, is a blessed one, is one that you will make wonderful memories, create great accomplishments, and do things that you never thought that you would do before in a good way. Now, on my sadly abandoned blog, which is called Daree's Insights, I used to post a recap of my year. Like recap, like REE, get it? It's my nickname. I started that blog back in January of 2007, and I wrote on and off for about 9 years before I completely let it go to the wayside. I used to write about goals and such between my birthday in November and the end of the year. But the last time I posted this was 4 years ago, and I've had this podcast for like 4 years. So I should have been talking about this for the past 4 seasons, but hey, I guess it's never too late, right? Anywho, I know it's the first day of the new year, but I want to talk about my 2018 as far as certain things that I haven't really mentioned before, even though I do try to talk about things from a personal point of view. And most of my podcasts in 2018 were solo. These are my personal insights for 2018. So first, I'm going to talk to you about some reflections that I have. I call this part 1. So I'm going to tell you 3 of my favorite memories, 3 things that I'm grateful for, 1 hard lesson that I learned, and 3 things that I did that I'm proud of. All right, so first, my 3 favorite memories of 2018. Number 1. The first was in January of 2018, where my mother-in-law and brother-in-law arrived at the hospice where my husband was staying, and it was actually about maybe 1 hour or so before he was being discharged from hospice, because before he passed away, he went in and then he was discharged and then he went back. So my mother-in-law and brother-in-law came and they hung out with us for about 4 days. And that was really nice. They knew that, the end was nearing and they wanted to spend time with him. So that was my first favorite memory. My second favorite memory was a day in March when a bunch of other members of his family came over to the house to spend time with him and hang out. So it was his 3 young adult children, his sister that lived in another state and had her own 3 young children whom George and I had never met. This was about 2 weeks or less before he was admitted back to hospice for the second and final time. And then number 3, this just happened about not even 2 weeks ago, but it was the day that my master bathroom remodel was completed. I closed on my house back in mid-August, but I had to wait a month to move in because they were painting, and then I had to wait all the rest of the time before they finally finished the master bathroom. And it's mostly because it was just one person working on it. I talked about this a couple episodes ago, if you didn't catch the details on that. Now, 3 things that happened in 2018 that I'm grateful for. Number 1 is my dad moving in with me. He is 66 years young and retired, but he's sharp as ever. And he's very able-bodied, and he was able to do a lot of the household things that men are supposed to do when they're able-bodied, but unfortunately my husband was too sick to do. It's really good having a man around the house for us single ladies, especially one I can depend on. I'm very grateful to be close to all my immediate family members for that matter. One lives within 4 hours, and the rest of them live within 5 minutes from my house. Number 2, and I say this with a little hesitation, but I am grateful in a way that my husband is now at peace. Even though I miss him every single day. He suffered so much pain and fear and agony in 2017, and it all went away in 2018. I was right there with him. I wasn't with him the moment that he died, but I was right with him for that whole journey. I empathize with folks who have to deal with chronic pain and disease, and I'm just going to leave it at that. Number 3, I'm grateful to still have my corporate job while also being able to run a voiceover business. In 2019, February 2nd to be exact, I will have my 20th anniversary with the company. And it's like, I haven't been with the company in name for 20 years, but I've been in my position as they, did their mergers and acquisitions and changing names and all that stuff over the years. And I'm a survivor, basically. So this sounds like a good future episode, eh? All right. One hard lesson that I learned in 2018. It was to protect your personal belongings during a move and get documentation of everything. I had some legal issues that came up since April, one of which is unresolved and pending a court hearing. I'll probably not revisit that until next April, since the hearing has to be done in Georgia, where the incident occurred, and I have relocated. I'm not planning another trip to Georgia until late March. So I'll be talking about that after the fact and what I've learned from it and how that went. And as far as personal belongings during a move, let's just say that someone stole from me. Movers stole from me. And these people acted like, they were going to do me some favors and help me out, because I had one set of movers that stood me up. And that was the day that they stood me up was the day before my daughter's birthday. So 2018 was the first birthday of my daughter's that I was not physically there. And I was by myself, and it was pretty crushing. But I don't plan on that happening again. I don't plan on relying on the wrong people or getting stolen from. 3 things that I did in 2018 that I'm proud of. Number 1, I sort of alluded to it a second ago, deciding to move back to Virginia, which was where I lived for, how long? 6 years before moving to Georgia. There's a part of me that didn't want to go back, I admit it. But after suffering my husband's loss and seeing my daughter's resilience in Atlanta and Columbus, I decided it was the best thing for us. So now we have a lot more support. And that's what I need right now. I bought a house. I don't know if that's, that's number 2, but I don't know if that's something that, I'll stick with and keep forever. But it just feels good to be in a place where I know what's what, and I don't feel a ton of stress or anything. Never really wanted to own another home, but here I am in my 4th and hopefully final one. Number 3 is getting signed to not 1, not 2, but 3 different talent agencies. I had 3 talent agencies express interest in me in 2018, and that's a big deal, and I am grateful for that as well. It was a goal of mine from last year to just get 1 agent, and now I have 3. I'm going to give you a bonus of something that I'm proud of, and that's my hair length. I did a big job in 2010 where I had long hair and I chopped it all off. I blogged about this. I think I talked about it in my blog, Daree's Insights. I think the title was something like Happy Napiversary to me. But I talked about my natural hair journey and why I chopped all my hair off. I had a Caesar cut. I went to the barber shop and I was like, go for it. And I was very comfortable in it. And when my new growth and curls came in, they look cute and everything, people said I had the head shape for it. I had the face for it, whatever. But I've grown my hair back and my hair is actually longer than it's ever been. It's like, I don't know, a little bit past my shoulders. And all I can say to that is, biotin pills work. That's a vitamin that I take, and it's actually pretty potent vitamin. I think it's the Country Life brand. I think hair is probably something that comes out of nowhere, but I've been taking good care of it despite of everything that stressed me out, or maybe not good care of it, but at least the vitamins worked. I mean, you talk about death, relocation, home buying. That's enough stress for anybody, just one of those things, let alone all three. Now, I wish that I could add to this list of things that I'm proud of that I have my 100th episode, but it's going to have to wait because this is number 98. So what do you think I should talk about for my 100th? Please let me know. Send me an email or let me know because I've got a couple of ideas, but I'd love to hear from you how these past 100 episodes have affected you, things you've learned or whatever. Think about it. What positive or life-changing memories do you have from 2018? I want to know that too. Now I'm going to shift gears and call this part 2 and talk about my race stats a little bit. This is actually going to be kind of short compared to the way I used to be. I started running in 2013. I was in my 30s. I had never had any reason to run except to the bathroom or away from a dog. So yeah, that was a big deal for me to start doing that because I'm not an athletic person. And I stopped, unfortunately, running a couple of years ago and only did a few infrequent group and solo runs in the past few years. But now I'm getting back into it and it's helping me to relieve the stress, even though running still is hard. It never gets easier. When I was blogging, I would talk about how many miles I ran over the whole year, which was usually something over 300 miles, and all the races that I did and the cities that I was in to complete them. But this summary is not going to be quite that exciting. I used to run or walk about 5 miles per hour, even when I was at my fittest in 2014. Now I'm down to 4 miles per hour. But hey, at least I'm still doing it, right? According to several articles of research, sitting is killing us. And trust me when I say that if I don't make myself run and schedule it in my Google Calendar, I will sit all day long. The main challenge for me is the weather because I'm no longer the member of a gym. I did Society for about 6 months in the fall of 2017 until February of 2018, but nothing since. Then, oddly, exactly 1 week before my husband passed, I did 2 miles just out of nowhere, probably at the park surrounding the tennis courts waiting for my daughter during her tennis lessons. So, at the end of the year, I did 3 official chip-timed races. One was a 5-miler in December called the Surf and Santa 5-miler, and it was at the Virginia Beach oceanfront. And it was really pretty because they had all these different kind of themes lit up along the boardwalk. My other 2 races were 5Ks, one in November and one in December. I did the first one at the Norfolk Harbor, and then I did the second one at a local high school. According to the Map My Run app, which is my app of choice, and this is not like a pitch or anything, it's just what I use, I've walked or jogged for just 65 miles this year versus the 300 that I used to. So according to the Map My Run app, I've walked or jogged for just 65 miles this year versus the 300 plus that I used to do. So I know I got to get it popping in 2019 for real, because for me, that's just sad. I know I could do better. Now I'm going to go to what I call part 3, which is looking ahead 2019. I'm going to talk about the places I want to go, 1 thing I want to get better at, 2 things I'm looking forward to, and 3 things I want to try. All right, there's a lot of places that I really love to go in 2019. Now, the first one is Hawaii, which has been on my list forever, been on my list for over 10 years since I was like 30. Listen to my last episode if you want to hear my real plan on how to do it instead of just saying that I want to go there, the steps that I'm taking to actually make it happen. Number 2, I would just say that someday I'd love to go to other countries. I've got this passport. I got this passport done 2 years ago. Still haven't put any stamps on it. But first, I want to pay off the debt that I incurred during relocation this past summer. I would love to visit Australia, Singapore, Dubai, Brazil. The list goes on and on. And I'm good with solo traveling. I'm not ashamed. I went to Las Vegas for a week by myself in 2009, and I'm not going to wait for anybody else to go any of these places either. So if you've got a good travel podcast to recommend, let me know, because I'm going to take notes and make it happen. One thing that I want to get better at is that I want to improve some of my voiceover performances in different genres, including commercial work. So in voiceover, there's various different genres that you can do. There's documentaries, there's narration, there's animation, video games. There's so many different things you can do. And I started taking on-camera acting classes this past August. So I have a few months left on this one, and that should definitely help. 2 things that I'm looking forward to in 2019. Number 1, I'm looking forward to attending a particular conference that I enjoy called Voiceover Atlanta, run by my good friend, Gerald Griffith. It gives me a chance to go back to Atlanta for a hot second. Also lets me get a chance to take care of that legal issue that I mentioned earlier. And I'm going to also be able to kind of reunite with some other voiceover friends I have. Number 2, I'm really looking forward to getting back to the 100s. I have been, unfortunately, well over 200 pounds since I got married, and I'm ready to get my old body back. I know exactly what I need to do. I just got to make it happen. And big shout out to Amy Porterfield for letting me know about the Losing 100 Pounds podcast with Corinne. 3 things that I want to try in 2019. So number 1, back to voiceover for a minute. I'm planning on doing documentaries. That is my dream job. I would love to do ID Channel, National Geographic, History. I feel like my voice is meant for that. And I'm going to start coaching with someone early this year. How I really got started was that one day, probably around March of 2016, I was sitting in the living room with my husband, and he introduced me to this show on TV1 that's called Fatal Attraction. It used to be narrated by the actress Lynn Whitfield, but for the past 4 years or so, it's been narrated by a different actress named Malika Millette, and she's been killing the game. When I heard her voice, which is a naturally lower register like mine, I told him, I want to do that. I can do that. She can do that. Whoever she is, I can do that. And he supported that dream for the rest of his life as I created a home recording studio, financed my training, demos, coaching, and business trips. In November of 2017, I actually met Malika Millette at a conference in New York City called That's Voiceover. And I told her to her face how she inspired me to start before we got a selfie. I would absolutely love to narrate a new series on the ID channel in the not too distant future. And so I'm just putting it out there now. Putting it out there. Name it and claim it, right? Number 2. The second thing I want to try this year is also voiceover related. And that's about mentoring folks short term. I personally don't think that I'm really super qualified to be a voiceover coach and help people get jobs and all this stuff, but I can definitely share the experience that I've had in getting started and different tools and resources that are helpful to someone that's just starting out. And when I tell people that I do voiceover, they're actually mostly very interested, and some of them are like, well, how do I get started? And so I feel like all you have to do is just Google things, but I have been asked this question so many times that I might as well make a resource and go ahead and mentor people that need that on a short term, once again. So I created a free resource that I'm launching very shortly, and I'll put a link to it in the show notes if it's available now. And I'll offer some consultations, which will likely involve a lot of referrals. So, hey, I've had to pay and continue to pay to get the benefit of more experienced folks' advice in this industry and other industries. So there you go. Time is money, right? It's an investment in yourself. The third thing that I want to try is to be more consistent on social media, particularly Instagram. I bought a course from Jenna Kutcher about social media and Instagram, and there's a couple of other people that I've been following about it as well. And I think that, for me and, my tribe, the people that follow me, what I'm doing, the gram is where it's at. So if you're not following me on social media, follow me at Daree Allen, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. It's very easy to find me. You're not only going to get notifications of these podcast episodes, but you'll also see quotes and pictures of my life when I'm running and doing whatever, and the occasional selfie or food porn pic. My bonus in this category of things that I want to try is a kind of maybe thing that I could try, which is performing on stage. few years ago, I really enjoyed the improv classes that I took in Atlanta, and it would be really cool to do a student play or some theater work locally. I know there's a college in Richmond, about an hour and a half from where I live right now, that they do a lot of film work. And if I had the time, maybe I know I could do it. So think about it and let me know, what are your plans for 2019? Let me know via email, which is kickingit@DareeAllen.com, or social media @DareeAllen. Oh, and again, if you have anything you want to share about how this podcast has helped you, anything you particularly enjoyed, any feedback that you want to give or share about the podcast in these first 100 episodes, please let me know. Again, using the email or social media, and I will include it in the 100th episode. Okay, that's my promise to you. Thank you. Have a wonderful new year. And again, blessings to you all listening. Thank you so much for your support. See you next time. If you like this show, I'd love to have your support. Visit patreon.com/kickingitwithdaree, without the G, to learn more.